Then Saul clothed David with the armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head and clothed him with a coat of arms. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them. So David put them off. It is Thursday, the 12th day of October, 2023, and it's time for the reading of our devotional thought for today. And I'm reading from the devotional book entitled Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg. Today's devotional thought is entitled No Need for This Armor. Once again, no need for this armor. And the verse is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 38 and 39, and it reads, Then Saul clothed David with the armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head and clothed him with a coat of arms. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them. So David put them off. That's 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 38 and 39. Alistair Begg writes, It's a type of helpful reminder that many mothers give younger children on a snowy day or older children before an interview. Make sure you're properly dressed. For King Saul, being properly dressed was the difference between victory and demise. Thus, when David volunteered to face Goliath on Israel's behalf, the first order of business was for him to suit up. The king rested all his hope in his armor. And so here's a memorable scene, both comic and tragic, for a failed king and a boy who was so weighed down that he could not move. King Saul was convinced that if he would Prince Saul was convinced that if he could dig out his old armor and put it on this boy, it might just be adequate enough to see David through, despite the odds that were so clearly against him. Yet Saul was a big guy, 1 Samuel 10, verse 23 tells us, and David was only a youth. It was never going to work. Besides, if the armor was not significant for Saul to go up against Goliath and win, why would he think a shepherd boy in ill-fitted armor would stand a chance? Saul was a failed king, and the wearing or not wearing of armor had nothing to do with it. David recognized that far from helping him, this heavy, ill-fitted armor would only hamper his efforts, so he cast it aside. He knew that he didn't need to be made into someone else, because God would help him. He knew that he didn't need to rely on anything else because God was with him. It's a sad picture, really. King Saul wasn't even a shadow of the person he had been. There he stood, absent God's Spirit, losing sight of God's glory, his courage gone, and with it his joy, his peace, and the security of his mind. We can imagine his gaze as it followed David heading off towards the brook in the valley and pausing to pick up 5 stones. The tragic gaze of a depleted king, his shadow growing long in the light of his setting reign. Let this picture of Saul invite you to consider, are you relying on armor as security in your life? In what ways have you rested your hope on human methods that do not fit and have not worked in a way that will last? Like David, look to the God who helps you and is with you. Then you'll be able to cast such armor aside and trust in God to lead you. Then you can face the day, every day, with joy, peace, and courage. And that concludes our devotional thought for this 12th day of October, 2023. No need for this armor. May our armor not be those of the flesh, our own strength, or our might, but may our armor truly be in the Lord our God. And for those of you reading through the Scriptures, Song of Solomon chapter 6 through 8, as well as Ephesians chapter 2, Clive Walsh here. May the Lord richly bless you.